This is gonna sound insane, but something is living in my toilet. It it's the strangest thing. I laughed when my daughter said that she saw a monster. Why wouldn't I? Last week it was in the closet, and before that under her bed. I literally slept under it for a week before she believed it was safe. The closet I just nailed shut. Fuck that. The toilet. That was a new one. I asked when she'd seen it, which was 2 days ago, and she described it looking like a little brown man. Obviously, my mind went to where yours just did and exploded with laughter, but after noticing the tears welling up in her eyes, I realized whatever she did see really bothered her. At that point, I took what she was saying seriously, and by the time her story was done, I found myself completely shocked and unable to speak. Thank God my wife walked in and snatched her up for bedtime because I had no idea how to respond to the configuration of words my daughter had just articulated. Not that I believed a fucking word, but how could she conjure up such a story? It just bothered me. I went to bed that night and basically just laid there for hours, thinking about our toilet. It was so fucking stupid. Laying on my pillow top mattress, heaven to me at the end of every night. But how could I get comfortable with the image of a small, deformed, hairless, lumpy brown man with arms and legs that just ended in nubs, dancing around the bathroom? Apparently with such grace that the brown streaks that the creature's nubs left on the tile began to create a picture. A perfect representation of our toilet. She said it kneeled before the toilet, and after noticing my daughter standing in awe, dove back inside, causing the pipes to gurgle as if they were drowning. She said I'd never believe her about monsters, so she just ran back to her room and hid under her blankets. I tried to explain it was just a nightmare, but you know how often that works. I unlocked my phone to see it was 3 a.m. How could I still be awake, just thinking about my toilet? I finally gave in and went to the bathroom to find a completely average scene. My bathtub on the left, my sink on the right, and my toilet, as normal as ever, sitting in between. As I looked around the bathroom, I noticed two things. First, the toilet was spotless, which was weird since my wife and I both work and the house tends to stay messy. But the toilet appeared to be brand new, it was so clean. The other thing that I noticed was that there were shiny spots on the floor, like someone had just mopped, and it was drying in some places and not in others. That really confused me as my wife had gone to sleep hours before, and I doubted my daughter would get up and mop. I was startled out of my thoughts by a loud gurgle from the toilet. A parade of bubbles disturbed the surface of the water, and then it was calm. No toilet-worshipping creature dancing on nubs. Deciding I'd entertained enough insanity for the night, I went to bed and actually fell asleep. The next morning I woke up feeling completely rested, and honestly, it was the best sleep I'd had in weeks, even if it was only 3 hours. But the first thing that came to my mind was that goddamn toilet. This couldn't be happening. Trying to ignore it, I started my normal morning routine. I started a pot of coffee, turned on the news, and headed to the bathroom to exorcise the morning demon. When I was done, I noticed there were no, in the toilet. Now, obviously, you have sinkers and floaters and probably Titanics where it breaks in half and one bobs on the surface while the other sinks. But how could it all disappear? Once again, I found myself pondering the most insane scenarios. This little brown man taking it. Maybe it's its source of food. Maybe that's why it worships the toilet. It's not fucking real, I kept telling myself. Even when I got to work, I was imagining every toilet having a little brown man. Some creature, maybe completely different. It's not fucking real. I probably said it to myself 1,000 times that day. You're gonna think I'm going insane, but I tested my poop at work and it didn't disappear, so the buoyancy wasn't the issue. When I got home, I did my best not to think about the toilet. I helped my daughter with her homework while my wife cooked a delicious pasta dinner, and afterwards we watched a movie. Eventually, it was time to do my nightly business, and as I sat on my throne, I periodically looked down to see if you-know-what was still there. And don't make that face like it's weird. I doubt any of you have ever taken a poop and not looked back before you flush it. Sure, I'm trying to check to see if a toilet monster has taken it, but still. To my surprise, when I looked down, all were accounted for. I sat up and leaned back, relieved and ashamed of how stupid I'd been. Toilet monsters. How could I let my daughter's overactive imagination get the better of me? All of a sudden, a series of gurgles rumbled from beneath me. It honestly startled me so bad that if I wasn't already done, it would have scared the shit out of me. Instantly, going back to the conspiracy surrounding my toilet, I slowly leaned over and moved my balls aside. My poop was gone. A chill ran down my spine as I began to feel as though I was being watched. Again, I slowly looked down, and staring back was the shapeless face of something I couldn't explain. Before I could think, it shot back into the hole, causing me to jump up and almost through the bathroom door. I looked back as the toilet gurgled, and then it was over. I waited in shock for something else to happen, but it never did. Finally, I forced myself to make my way to bed, where I laid until the sun rose, and my family woke up and left, starting their day. I called my boss and used some sick time. Sick didn't describe it. I'd gone off the deep end. If I wasn't crazy, then there was a little shit monster in my toilet, and that's an even bigger fucking problem. Whichever it was, I needed a day to figure it out. Obviously, I couldn't talk to anyone. An exterminator would laugh and tell me to call a plumber, and a plumber would laugh and tell me to go fuck myself. My wife loves me, but not enough to stick around after hearing something like this. I decided that I just needed to show her. But how? I don't have any money laying around for cameras, and the bathroom is in the middle of the hallway, so not many options to hide and watch for this thing to come out. But on the other side of the wall, across from the bathroom, is the living room. Then it came to me. After 2 drill holes in the wall and a portrait of Oprah Winfrey with the eyes cut out, I had the perfect view of my toilet, hidden by a wall, safely standing in my living room. I was free to watch and prove to myself that I wasn't going crazy before I tried to convince my wife the same thing. The following night, I watched through Oprah's eyes, waiting for this ritual I had pictured so vividly in my head as my 4-year-old had described it. It didn't take long before I heard that eerie gurgle that now signified that, to me, the creature was on his way. After a moment, I could see a dark object peeking over the seat, and then, as if to defy gravity, the creature rose from the bowl into the air and then landed gracefully on its nubs in front of the toilet. It turned and approached the toilet as a long, cracked tongue slid out from its mouth. With the speed and accuracy of a 1950s street-side shoe shiner, it cleaned the toilet until it was glowing. He then proceeded to dance. With every twist leap, and spin. The marks it left on the floor began to create an image of our toilet. Everything was as my daughter said. When it was done, it kneeled in worship before using its tongue to erase its creation like an Etch-a-Sketch and diving back into the toilet, followed by the gurgle of its descent. I could only imagine how wide Oprah's eyes were, and when it was over, I fell back onto the couch and just sat there until my wife found me a few hours later. She asked me about Oprah, the holes, and why I was acting so strange. I told her it was too unbelievable for me to explain, and that I just needed to show her. That night, she looked through the eyes and cried when she saw the secret of our toilet. She got our daughter and was on her way to her mother's within 5 minutes, and I was left all alone in the house with this thing. I thought about replacing the toilet and pipes, but what would that do? Whatever this is, I'm sure it lives in the septic tank, and I definitely don't have the money to run a new one. If any of you have any advice or an idea of what I should do, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you when I figure some shit out.